Now, that reading from Luke was not taken from contemporary news articles. It was not taken from any contemporary Twitter feeds or Facebook posts. It was a parable. But it reflects society today. How often we hear of people in authority skimming off the top. A little bit for me, a little bit for you. Or some politicians who go into politics maybe with a basic salary, but within months or a year, they're millionaires. And this is contemporary. How many of those who are in office point to the others, their competitions, and point out all of their faults, all of their fallacies? Today, Jesus is congratulating the con man with a very distinct difference. He's telling us you can get ahead if you want to by being a thief, by being an unjust steward, an unjust mayor, governor, politician of sorts. Oh, you can get ahead. We all know that. But God knows all of it. And God knows what truly matters. And God is watching every one of our political figures. Now, that doesn't exempt any of us because we're not politicians. Because if the opportunity came up, each one of us has to ask ourselves, what would I do? Would I skim off the top? Would I put the boss's salary there and my salary in my pocket? His portion there and my portion from him in my pocket? How many of us have had the opportunity to steal? How many of us have had the opportunity to watch our political figures rise up in popularity and scream about the necessity to take care of the poor while the poor in their districts go hungry? I'm not going to name any particular state. Pick any one of them. How many of the politicians today are being indicted? Yeah, they're being indicted because they're from the other party, but that's nonsense. How many of our politicians, both parties or no party, are just not doing what they were told to do, what they were voted in to do? Jesus has given us a very interesting example. Two people who were working together, and one he trusted a great deal. And he represented, that steward represented the system. He represented, in our words, the governor or the president or the mayor. He was working under them. But he was a con man or woman. Nobody gets out of this. He was a con man or con woman stealing to save his own butt. That famous quote, I can't dig, I'm not able to dig, and I'm not going to go begging. So I've got to make it to the top in a way that looks good. So he calls in the debtors. You owe my boss 100, make it 80. You owe him 50, make it 20. Because he was preparing himself for the future. Gospel of Luke, written around the year 70. This is the year 2025. It's still going on. It's still going on. Our politicians so often riding on the backs of their constituents as they make it to the top, as they live in mansions, and their constituents so often live in hovels, live with not enough food, live with below standard housing, but they rise up to the top. And they rise up to the top in a system that is becoming regrettably fashionable: socialism. Now, our church has had a history with socialism. All the popes from the 19th century on have condemned it, because socialism rules out God. You got to get God out of the way first. You can't believe in God and believe in socialism, because socialism is an entity unto itself that's going to run the city, the country, doesn't matter. And the socialistic government takes over all the things that you depend on, takes over the healthcare system, takes over the grocery stores, takes over transportation. And this is not new. This is not 21st century. This goes back to Karl Marx. This goes back to Stalin. This goes back to the early communist socialists. And regrettably, they're also called democratic socialists. It started here? No, it started before Jesus came on the scene. It's always been around. Jesus focused on the creativity and the front page headlines of the thief, of the con man. Because if she makes it clear enough and gets you to trust them clear enough, you'll vote for them. But God sees all of it, and God knows what truly matters. Amos, today in the first reading, no bones about it, made no bones about how God will be fed up with those who take advantage of the poor. And I'm going to say the economic poor, as well as the socially poor, as well as the educationally poor. Because in Amos's time, they were all, in their terminology, law-abiding people. What would they do? They were taking advantage of the poor, and this is what their prayer was. When will the new moon be over, you ask, and when can we sell our grain? So now they're religious Jews who are saying, well, I know the religious law says we can't sell to the poor, sell anybody, while the moon is high on religious holy days. So when will these holy days be out of our way? When will the church move away from us and give us a clear vision of how to be thieves, how to take advantage of one another? The church comes up with its dogmas, its teachings, just like, quote, the church of the Jews, the temple, the priests, came up with all these rules and regulations. I'm going to get around them. And you and I know people left and right in our society who get around the rules, whether they're religious rules, social rules, or political rules. They get around them because they're con men, the same people that Amos is talking about, the con men who took, and women, who took advantage of the poor. You heard this, but just let me repeat this line. When will we fix our scales for cheating? Can't do it during religious holidays. When will we buy the lowly for silver and the poor for a pair of sandals? I don't know how that hits you poetically, but what Amos is criticizing are those who can buy another person for a few pieces of silver, or buy a poor person for a pair of sandals. Buy them, own them. See what Amos is doing? He's trying to raise the consciousness of the people of his day, 700 years before Christ. But it also works with us. How many of us will take advantage of the poor? You know, we're not how can I say, significant enough. Let's look at our leaders. That's the focus, I think, today is our leaders, who can take advantage of the poor for a vote. Follow me, I'll give you a free bus. Follow me, I'll give you your own grocery stores. Follow me to hell, because first of all, we have to move God out of the picture. God does not belong in the picture. That's why Amos is talking about those who are protesting the problem want to move God or the holy days out of the picture, because when God is out of the picture, we're on our own. When God's out of our picture, we can run it the way we want to run it. But don't ever forget Amos. He's one of the tough prophets. He's one of the prophets that gave us the shortest of his readings, so we call him a minor prophet. But for his theology and his political punch, he's a major influence in our church and our theology. He concludes with this paragraph. The Lord has sworn by the pride of Jacob, the ancestors of the people of Israel. And get this should cause every one of us to shake in our boots. Before we go to the ballot box, before we protest, before we promote, every one of us should be shaking in our boots. God saying, never will I forget a thing they have done. That should aggravate the hell out of us. Anytime we get involved with shady events or promote shady politicians, even after we know what they've done, God will never forget a thing we have done. That also applies to us as a church. So to comfort us today, we have Paul's letter very clearly to Timothy, and Paul's letter to Timothy is an encouragement, is a directional, is a reminder that God is with us always, and that we are called to pray for a just society, to pray for equality, to pray for justice. And we don't just pray for it only in our own little worlds. We pray for those in authority and those that we will vote into positions. He says, first of all, I ask that supplications and prayers and petitions of thanksgiving be offered for everyone, for kings and our system, politicians of all sorts, and for all those in authority, that we together might lead a tranquil life with all devotion. So part of the political system that doesn't get promoted is our responsibility to pray for justice and pray for tranquility. Now, tranquility doesn't mean so everyone can fall asleep. Tranquility means peace and justice and the ability to attend church and the ability to reverence God in your lives, our lives. And Timothy received this letter from Paul centuries ago, reminding us there's only one God, and there's only one mediator between God and us, Jesus Christ. And this is the testimony that we as Catholics follow. Every day we're being scrutinized. Every day we're being challenged by the political system, by the social system, and by our Catholic faith.